Hello, my name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Okay, whew, guys, we're coming up on the end here, because today we're talking about Magic Binds by Ilona Andrews. Now this will be a spoiler-filled review, so remember, if you've not read this yet, please don't watch. Come back later. But yeah, this is a book of anticipation and build-up, because somewhat spoilers, I guess, for my thoughts. I do think that this is to some degree a filler book in terms of, I think that it is definitely moving the macro plot forward. The conflict with Roland is very interesting in this book, I think, but I think that on an episodic level, it's ultimately somewhat not as satisfying as the previous couple of books have been, just because really what this is doing is setting up the final book. Now, insofar as it is setting up the final book, I think this does a really good job. It makes me extremely hopeful for Magic Triumphs. And again, I've been doing some light spoilery reading. Everything I see tells me that Magic Triumphs is going to be great and that this is going to pay off. So I'm happy with this book insofar as it is setting things up. I do think that it fails a little bit in terms of a book unto itself. So just to remind you what we're dealing with here. Kate and the former Beast Lord Curran Linart are finally making their relationship official, but there are some steep obstacles standing in the way of their walk to the altar. Kate's father Roland has kidnapped the demigod Saman and is slowly bleeding him dry in the never-ending bid for power. A witch oracle has predicted that if Kate marries the man she loves, Atlanta will burn and she will lose him forever. And the only person Kate can ask for help is long dead. The odds are impossible, the future is grim, but Kate Daniels has never been one to play by the rules. So that's what this book, just to refresh your mind, kind of the context of what it's about. That being said, I mean, there's a lot to love about this book. So first of all, I love all of the wedding stuff. I mean, I'm a romantic at heart, so like, I love the actual wedding. It's beautiful, I cried. And you know, this is spoiler filled, so like at the end when we realize she's pregnant and like all of the prophecy stuff is gonna be coming to a boil, I think that's very exciting. But I also just loved all the prep for the wedding and how like she's like, I don't have time for this, I'm trying to defeat Roland. But like, I love how into it Roman is. We haven't really talked about Roman up to this point. I really love him as a side character in these books. I've heard that he's going to be getting some books unto himself, so I'm excited to see where those go. But I love that this starts off with Curran and Kate asking him to officiate because he's like, I'm the death witch, or like the death whatever. Like, I never get to be the one in charge of weddings, so I love that he gets so into it. And I just think it's kind of a lovely touch that they asked him. So I love all of that stuff, like anything having to do with the wedding in this I really enjoy. I like the character conflicts in this in terms of, I like that Kate is sort of wrestling with this idea of like, to be able to defeat Roland, she has to become more powerful. But when she becomes more powerful, it becomes more tempting for her to use her power in a way that would make her not who she is. So I think that's a really interesting conflict, and I think they do a good job of developing that in this book in a way that's super enjoyable. So in terms of character development, I think this is really good. I really liked how Roland is like trying to provoke her, and how she still that he's so powerful, but he of course has like hubris, and like he just fundamentally doesn't get Kate and what she's about in a lot of ways, so that always to some degree gives her an upper hand. All the stuff with Saman, I never know how to say his name, but Saman, I thought was very interesting. And I really liked how, in terms of like intellectually, I really enjoy how the conflict with Kate and Roland resolves in this book, because I think it's definitely super compelling. It's just, I think that for the book itself, it's very compelling on a macro level. I think for the book itself, it sort of feels like a little bit of kind of a deflation after everything that was building to it. But it does make me very excited for the final book, and I think that that's a huge part of what this book needed to do. I will say the other thing in this book that makes me not like it quite as much is just, I feel like all of the prophecy stuff with the witches and like these idea of like anchor points and like all of her visions about her son dying versus current, like all of that I feel like is probably explained as best as it can be, but I think is a little nebulous and a little wonky. I'm not sure that I love that there's so much prophecy happening in these books at this point. Like, I don't know, I think it's done better than a lot of books who try to kind of use those tropes of like fate and like it has been foretold or whatever. Like, I think it probably does a better job than a lot of those books do, but I still don't think it's like great. And I wish that there was less of that in this book, basically. So yeah, I didn't necessarily love the witch oracle stuff in this book. I do, however, fucking love the era is back on the scene. Like, love all that. I just really enjoy her in this book. And then what else? Oh, I wish that the gin box that we found out about at the end of Magic Shifts, I wish that had come up more in this, because the way it was set up at the end of Magic Shifts made it seem like that was going to be a thing in this book. I assume it's still going to be a thing, but it's just going to be in Magic Triumph. So anyway, that's like a side note, a little bit picky, but I just felt like that was a little bit, like, it gives me little blue balls of like, you've put the gun on the mantle, like, when is it going off? So I assume it's going to go off in Magic Triumphs, but it just hasn't yet. Anyway, all that to say, I do think that this is somewhat a filler book, but in terms of like other books in the series that I think a little bit of as filler books, as in Magic Slays and Magic Rises, those are the three I would closest define as filler books in this entire series, and this one is by like head and shoulders above those two in my opinion. So it's still really good and really enjoyable, and I think gives you a lot of clear signals and ideas about how they're going to land this plane. And I left this book when I first read it just feeling confident, like they know what Endgame is, they've got a plan, I am in safe hands. And that is still how I feel, which is why I'm so excited for Magic Triumphs, which we will talk about on Friday. So get pumped. So I think that will do it for today's Kate-Daniels-a-thon, and yeah, hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and I think that will do it. Hope you're having a really lovely day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!